My name is Ollie Thompson. I went to school in Fauquier County in Virginia, and I went from there. I joined the Army, joined the 45th Division, which was an Oklahoma National Guard unit, and they didn't have their quota. So I went with them to Camp Polk, Louisiana. That's where I had my basic training. I was born in Fauquier County, August 1930, 31.
31?
1930. I was August, the 8th month, the 31st day.
Okay, 31st of 1930.
Right.
Okay. How about your family?
My family, I had 3 brothers in the military in World War II.
Oh, your older brothers.
Yes. And I had my mother's brother's wife passed away, and she raised their son who was six years old, and he went to Germany.
What were you doing when the time that the Korean War broke out? 1950. What were you doing?
In 1950, I was working at that time.
Working where?
On the farm, Mellon's estate. I was got livestock and whatever was needed to be done. The guy I worked for, he was had thoroughbred horses. Run a lot in races. It was a big estate.
Did they sell the horse?
No. He bought more horses, and when he got old, after racing them, he kept them and retired them and kept them as a pension. And the horses on the farm there. And his father, the guy that I worked for, was Paul Mellon. His father was Andrew Mellon. He was Secretary of Treasury. And he made his money in Pittsburgh, and he came from...
A rich man.
Yeah, yes he was.
Yeah. So how did you know about the Korean War breakout?
Well, the first I heard it was the day it started.
How?
On the radio.
What did they say?
That South Korea had been attacked.
Did you know anything about South Korea or the Korea?
No, I didn't. No, sir, I didn't at the time, no.
Didn't high school history class teach you about it?
No.
Nothing about Asia?
Well, maybe a few things about Asia, but not much. But I didn't really heard much about Korea until the war broke out. Then I got to hear a lot about it. And the reason that I went into service because my brother served, and I thought I could help somebody, and I think maybe I helped you. I don't know, Korean people.
Did you enlist or you
I enlisted.
drafted?
I enlisted
Why?
because I want to serve my country like my 4 brothers did.
So you have a tradition of military background in your family.
Right.
Did you enlist in Army or what?
I was Army.
Army. Where did you go to receive basic military training?
It was down in Camp Polk, Louisiana. That's where I took infantry training there, and did learn how to do hand-to-hand combat. And I was in then when I left there, I went to Hokkaido, Japan. And
When was it? Tell me about it. When did you leave for Japan?
I was in Japan in first part of June, 51.
What did you do there?
I was assigned, when I got there, I was assigned to the artillery, 155 howitzers. And there I got in, like I said, I got into the artillery in a little place on the island of Hokkaido, Japan. And over from us a little bit, Hokkaido, was the Russians.
Yep.
And at that time, we were pretty well in the field a lot, training, and stayed in the field a lot at that time. But the way things was there, They kept us on alert a lot. And I thought, well, I'll probably be here for a while. But that wasn't true. When the last part of November came in 1951, I left for a career on the ship, and when we arrived there, we came into Incheon. And the tide was low, we couldn't come in, so I had to climb down over the net into a LSU, flat bottom ramp boat, you know what I'm talking about. Came in there, and when we boarded that, when we got down there and boarded that, we got on a train there. They rode the train for a while, and the train looked like it had been shot up pretty well at that time. So going through part of Seoul, I saw a lot of buildings, didn't have any windows in it, no houses. Then we got into a truck. Then we went on up to the artillery, the 155 houses. And there, we spent the night out in the cold, first part of December, 1951. The 1st Cavalry was there then. And we replaced 1st Cavalry, and they went back to Okada, Japan. But during that night period, everything was quiet. We slept on the ground in the cold because no place to dig in to go anywhere. So we got about...
It's damn cold.
Yeah, it was halfway asleep, and all of a sudden, artillery opened up. Well, we didn't know where it was coming from, but it was our own artillery. That scared us. Yeah, our own artillery. The guys be replaced because the house is there. And from there we took over the battery of the 189th 45th Division Artillery. And from there we done a lot of firing there, and I do have something for you to read where we fired so many rounds at the early point of career. I have it in there. Yes, you can. That was a different type of Tennessee and 189th Artillery last week. When Charlie Battery opened fire, members of the battalion knew, however, that their 3 days' wait was over, for from their guns came 50,000 rounds fired by the 189th since their arrival in Korea. The firing of the round was a monetary value also to the United States government and to 4 members of the battalion. To the government, it meant that approximately $8 million worth of ammo had been blasted at the enemy by the 189th. For members of the battalion was rewarded by the occasion, for they were the winners of a $70 pool in which they guessed the date and time of the actual firing. 3 days before the 50,000 round was fired, battalion fired directly center, announced that they were on the short of the mark, 8 rounds short of the mark. The contest began at each round was anxious, awaiting by the battalion. The tenants mounted when Charlie Battery fired the 32 rounds on a suspected gun position to raise the total to 49,999. The shots heard around the battalion. It came a short while later, and 100 arrived, peered at their watch. Winners was Private Paul Tulip, Farmite, Kansas, 4th Sergeant Tillman, Presswood, Wichita, Kansas, 20 Sergeant Shell, Harris, Swain, Georgia, and PFC David Newell, Osborne, New York, $5 each. Gianna was full of the Landred for the 50,000 round, went to 2nd Lieutenant James Hale, Cherokee, Oklahoma.
I mean, special reason that you keep that article?
Yes, I kept it. I fastened it in this book, and it's been glued to it ever since. The reason I kept it was we had quite a bit of firing when we first got there.
Quite a bit of what?
Firing.
Firing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Firing the house, yes. And we lived in tents then we only had time to, we only could break our howitzer down, or a rifle down, only by orders when we could break them down, so we wouldn't all break down at one time. So that was individual by one howitzer at a time.
So then you said you went into Seoul, and then where did you go?
Seoul, I went on up into Churwan Valley.
Churwan Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And you stationed there?
Stayed there for a while, yes.
What was your mission there?
Protecting our 45th Infantry Division.
Protecting?
Yeah, we were shelling, yeah. Firing upon the there. Yes.
So you were supporting those divisions from the rear?
Yes.
Using artillery?
Using artillery, yes. Yeah.
How was North Korean artillery? Were they accurate? Were they fearful? Or were they good?
Well, they I think so. They were, but to me, our division went back in reserve, and a lot of guys was, like I say, was National Guards, and they got to go home, and I was one of the last 8 in our battery, artillery, to leave Korea. But when they went in reserve, I went over and supported you guys, the South Korean.
Were there any dangerous moments in your service?
No, not really. Like I say, we were back quite a ways. We didn't have a lot of problems, but sometimes some of the guys had to go up to help to lay back the message for formation at night. And, of course, some guys got hit while they were up there.
So when did you leave Korea?
I left Korea in September 1952.
Where did you go?
When I left there, I went back by San Francisco, and I went to Maryland, at George Meade, Fort Meade in Maryland. Then I went home. I came back to Fort Meade, and at that time, I got separated for six years. I was still hooked up with the Army to go back if they needed me, for call back. Mm-hmm. So when I got out, and I got married and started a family, and I had a good job, a working job, and I never really thought too much about the Korean War, really.
Yeah, why? Why you didn't talk about it?
Well, today I talk more now since I joined the chapter here in Winchester. I got to know a lot of these guys, and I got to know, but I never said too much to anybody about it.
Why?
I don't know. I just didn't want to talk too much about it. Well, I guess the difference was we were a lot like the World War II veterans, because there was only 5 years difference there.
So you're saying that it's a difference between young generation and old generation?
Yes.
You know, people say that the Korean War has been forgotten. What do you say to that?
Not anymore.
That means that it's been forgotten sometime?
It's forgotten time. Now, people really thank you for your service. It's a different thing. When we came home, we just came home, you know.
And they ask you, where have you been, right?
Yeah, a lot of them say, well, I haven't seen you lately. But to me,
it's ridiculous.
Well, one thing you know as well as I do, we stopped the communists. We helped to rather. And like I said again, my brother got the Silver Star and been in
your brother got Silver Star?
in World War II. And my other brother, he served in the Pacific in the Navy. And my other brother was in the Navy. And the boy that my mother and dad raised, he went to the Cold War. He went to Germany. But to me, it was an honor to serve my country, and I'm well pleased of your kind of people because you so cheerful, so happy, and you give us welcome anywhere that we see you, any of you.
Do you know of any Koreans around this town?
No, I don't.
You never been invited by the Korean church?
Oh yes, I've been there. Yes.
What do they do for you?
Well, they had the service in Korean and they had it transferred over to English language. And they were very nice, very good. And now this guy that has a church there, he's really a nice fellow. And of course, I know that you know that we're going to have a memorial bill here in Winchester. I guess you heard about that. Yeah. And that's one of the great things that's really come to life. These are nice people in the area because they helped us so with donor. And even down South Korea has helped us a lot.
Do you know that Korea is now one of the strongest economy in the world?
Chances, is that right?
Yeah, about 10, yes.
I heard that the other night because I was in Washington.
From our President Park Geun-hye, right?
Yeah.
Did you like her?
Oh, yes.
Why?
She's a beautiful looking woman.
She will be pleased to hear that.
Well, she is. And it was quite an honor to go see something like that. And I thank you people for coming the bus to take us to D.C., to Washington, and brought us back. And you had a nice colonel on the bus and a good bus driver. And it was very nice.
Good. Have you ever imagined that the Korea would become a democratic nation with such power?
Well, I tell you, you all came a long ways. You worked together. And you had love for one another. That's what the country needs today. I'll tell you my story now.
Yeah.
I don't know, with being in the artillery, I don't know how many people I killed, how many North Koreans I killed, or how many Chinese I helped to kill. But yet again, I don't know how many men that I saved, helped to save, brother. You know, because I never know. The only one who really knows is the good Lord. I don't know what happened. But sometimes in my mind, I often wonder about that.
Yeah. You're Christian.
Yes.
So, what do you think God let you do during the war? You said you don't know how many you killed, but at the same time, you don't know how many have been saved by you.
That's right. I don't know.
Where is the will of God then in the war?
He was with me. He was right with me. Because I prayed to him a lot. And I still pray for your nation.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. How do you pray for us?
I pray that you would kind of get together somehow and have something that you work together. But it seemed to be this North and South is, it's just like back in our history books in the Civil War, the North and the South fighting. We had that in our country. Of course, you read about that too, I'm sure.
Oh, that's very nice of you to pray for the Korean nation. Yes, we want our peninsula be reunited, and we want to have a peace in the Korean peninsula. Right,
and I also like to go back into North Korea and see if we can find some of our missing in action troops.
Killed in action.
Yes.
Yeah. You've never been back to Korea?
No, and be frank about it, I'll tell you, like I've been asked a lot of times to go back.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, everything would be so different to me there
Right.
today. At least y'all got trees over there now.
Yeah.
And
More than our tree, okay?
and it's just I guess the reason I didn't go back because I've seen New York and all, and there'd be no place that I would really know where I was.
But you will be pleased to know how Koreans change themselves and become one of the strongest nation in the world.
I found out from a lot of your personnel.
Why don't you find yourself?
Yeah, I should.
You know why? Because there is a visit program, as you know.
Yes,
right?
I know.
And we, the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, they cover everything, and you pay half of the international airfare. That's all.
Well, see, I'm 83 now, you know.
Do you want to show some pictures?
I tell you, this is the old 45th book. I got it marked. It's just some places in Korea that this is when we. I thought I had these places marked right here. We police Korea.
We police Korea.
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
They used to say police action, not the war, right?
Right. And here it says it's a long way from home.
Uh-huh.
This is some of the guys getting off the ship, arriving in Korea.
Yeah.
And that's the sign of the 180th Infantry, 189th Field Artillery, 171 Field Artillery Battalion, and Company A, 120th Engineers. And this was our headquarters. This is a campaign of headquarters. 45th Infantry Division was in served in World War II. The division forward CP was set up. The refuge was closed and dusted.
Is that Korean man?
Yes.
He is very good looking, huh?
Well, you know, it's a big change in today's people. They look really better
Uh-huh.
than did. Of course, me, I'm getting to look like an old fellow. They use this as a maintenance shop. They built there in Korea. Of course, Washington was the vehicle. And this is something about the rice paddy strike. And this is the up front position.
Yeah.
You familiar with all that?
Yeah. I had similar pictures that I collected from other Korean War veterans.
Okay, now this guy here from Texas. He's
Mhm.
flying the Texas flag.
Yeah, Texas flag. Oh my goodness, in Korea.
Yeah.
And,
And this guy was washing his socks.
Yeah, I smell it.
Well, we had one of your young men, young boy he was, he done the washing for us in Korea. I have a picture of him in there too. Just getting your hair trimmed, outside looking out for alert, looking for the enemy. Kind of snow a little bit on the ground there. This is the recall rifle that went into action. The motor squad became busy. PBR was mattered. You familiar with all this, I guess? Of course, you didn't have any highways over there. You had dirt roads, didn't you, when I was there?
Yeah.
That's the tank laying down a barrage. Heavy machine gun. Something. Patrol went out after them.
Okay.
This is a 90 millimeter howitzer. We moved up. They sent that one up to do a little bit more direct firing. Of course, it's all about the artillery observer spotting a target and rolling it into position by hand.
Do you keep any letters that you wrote back to your family?
You know, I did, but I finally,
Get rid of it?
yes,
That
I
was-
should have kept them. Now,
that
wrong
was
thing
bad.
to do.
I think that's enough. So
Okay.
thank you very much sharing those pictures with us. This is the Certificate of Ambassador for Peace issued by the Korean government, Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, and also Korean Veterans Association. Ollie Thompson. And then here is the medal from the same ministry. Right. Thank you very much, Bob, for your service and fight for the Korean nation. And there is no Korea without your sacrifice. I want you to know that.
I appreciate that.